In this video, I'll show you a quick demo of our noise gate and downward expander and show what that sounds like when you put it on a drum track with a lot of background noise. So I've got AUM recording just so I have my audio coming through clearly. And let's start up some drums. I've got this YouTube video that I just searched. I hope YouTube doesn't punish me for copyright violation. So that's running, and I've got the gate on it. Here's without the gate. The gate is in downward expansion mode right now. Let's take this up a little higher. Take it right up to the max. Yeah, so now we can hear a big difference. This is without the gate. Here's with the gate back on. So I'm going to pause that and talk about what's going on. So this is different from many of the other noise gates that you see, not all of them, but many of them, because of what's going on in the bottom row. So if you look at the top row, threshold, attack time, release time, I think these are standard settings that you'd find in any noise gate. But the ratio is particular to noise gates that work by downward expansion, which is not the most typical way for noise gates to work. So if you're not familiar with expansion, or in this specific case, downward expansion, means that when the volume falls below a threshold, the expander will push it even lower. So for example, if it's 2 decibels below the threshold, a 2-to-1 downward expander will push it down to 4 decibels below the threshold. And if it's 3 decibels below the threshold, it would be down at 6 decibels. So it makes quiet things even quieter. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't cut them out. But we can cut them out if we want to. We can go to gate mode. So the gate mode will say, if you fall below the threshold, I'm just closing the gate. You can see the gate here is now in closed state, and you can tell it's closed because the meter is all the way down and it says closed there. So let's listen to standard gate mode, which is what you'd get from a more typical noise gate. Not hearing much yet because it's not on. There it is. Right. So my threshold is set up at the top, and I'm filtering on the sidechain, and the volume never really gets up high enough to open the gate, and so it's stuck closed. So I'll pull the threshold down. So what you can hear now is the gate opens when the snare drum hits, and then it closes again. It's not following the bass because I've got my sidechain min frequency set at 170 hertz, so it kind of filters out most of the bass drum. So we're going to open it up and let the bass drum come through. So now we have typical noise gate behavior, where the gate opens when something is above the threshold and closes when it's below, which is, I hope, easy for you to understand. But the problem with this is, in some cases this is what we want, but often this doesn't sound very natural. And I'm going to pause this so I can talk. Often this doesn't sound as natural as we'd like it to. And one of the alternatives that some noise gates offer is that they have a setting that controls how far it closes down. So the gate, rather than closing down to a 0 state where there's no sound coming through, it closes down to some lower volume level. And that helps it sound a little bit more natural because then you're not toggling between an open and closed state like we are here. But this downward expansion, as you heard before, gives you something a lot more natural, in the sense that rather than toggling between open and closed or between open and lower volume, that it has this very gradual lowering of the volume, where if something is near the threshold, it doesn't get lowered very much. But as it gets farther below the threshold, it really gets pushed down hard. So I'm going to move the ratio knob while we listen to this. So you can hear with this lower ratio of 2.25 to 1, now it's gating out a lot of that background noise, but we still hear the hi-hat coming through, which is usually what we want, I think. And this sounds even more natural yet. But now I feel like maybe it's leaking through a bit too much. The gate's still doing something, but we might want to take the threshold up a little higher to gate a little more. I feel like there's a little bit of a problem because of the mismatch between the bass drum volume and the other drum volumes. The bass frequencies tend to always be more powerful than all the other frequencies. And so I think to get a balance between the gating effect on the bass and the snare and the hi-hat and everything else, I think I want to take this min frequency setting to filter a little bit out of the bass out of the sidechain. Now it's important to note that we're not filtering the bass out of the signal that you hear. It's just filtering it out of the sidechain, which is the signal that goes into the envelope follower. And that's what determines whether the gate opens or closes. But it doesn't change. You're not going to lose bass in your main output. Let's try that. So now you hear we are losing bass, and that's because, because we filtered most of the bass out of the sidechain, so the sidechain isn't opening for the bass drum so much now. This filter is a 6 dB filter. It's very gentle, so you have to go quite a bit above where the actual bass drum main frequencies are. But it sounds more balanced to me now. And now we can take the threshold down. Let's see what that sounds like on or off. I'll stop the music. I really like the sound we've got there. When I listen to the sound coming out of the noise gate, it still sounds like drums. I'm not hearing anything weird artifacts going on, but at the same time, it's a lot cleaner in the sense of a lot of that background and cymbal ringing is cleaned up. So I think we'll stop our demo here. We're almost at 10 minutes, and I think we'll probably do a guitar one again soon, so look for that in a future video. If you're interested in seeing that, hit subscribe so that when you're browsing through YouTube, that video is more likely to pop up on your YouTube feed. And if you like this video, if you would, please hit like, because that helps us build our channel. See you next time.